Welcome to the Hyper Guy Motivational Podcast. Thank you so much for being here today. Today's guest is B. Ayuso. I want to make sure I got that right. Um,
Ayuso. hmm
and B is a fitness instructor extraordinaire, female bodybuilding champion, a bodybuilder on top of that, a business owner, she'll talk about her business a little bit. In fact, I'm going to take her up on her business the next time I have the opportunity. She is a influencer on TikTok and Instagram. Thank you so much for being here today, B.
Thank you, Martin, for the invitation. I really appreciate it.
B, can you give out? I like to do this now because I'm kind of changing things up a little bit. Can you please give out your Instagram and your TikTok and ways people can get a hold of you?
Yes, on Instagram, I'm at Ayuso. On TikTok, I'm at Ayuso1. And I also have a fitness fit club page also on Instagram that is called We Are Sharks Fit Club that you can also join there.
Hey, B. Hey, B. Can you spell out your name so on Instagram so people know how to spell it out? Because sometimes people spell it a bunch of different ways.
Right. It's B as in boy, E as in elephant, E as in elephant, A as in apple, Y as in Y, York,
Yeah.
uh, U as in unicorn, S as in sofa, O as in orange.
Okay, sounds good.
It's
So,
kind
hey,
of hard to think in English. Sorry
oh
about.
no, it's all good. A B. So I'm gonna start off. I always start off this way. Where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Guatemala, and I moved to the States about when I was 22.
So, what was it like growing up in Guatemala? Like, how many brothers and sisters do you have? What was
Okay,
that like for you?
we're in total of four girls. So it was crazy because I mean, imagine having all those hormones floating in the house. Then we were raised by my mom, single mom. So growing up over there, it's pretty normal, like just it's very a little bit different from here. Food is different. Culture is a little bit different, slightly different. Different holidays, different, but also like very in the sense that we have Mother's Day, Father's Day, Independence Day, all that we have over there. So it's pretty normal. Just the fact that the safety issue would be like way different. So I would say like it's more safer here in the States as opposed as in Guatemala.
So, what was it like growing up there? Like, was it a struggle for you? What was it like for your family there? Is all your family here?
No, mostly it's back home in Guatemala. Honestly, I'm gonna tell you that we had a very comfortable upbringing because my mom had a in the government. So basically, like we were going to nice schools. We were private school. We will go to English classes, sports, and things like that. So honestly, we grew financially speaking.
Yeah, B. Sometimes you're cutting out a little bit. I think there might be something going on with your internet, so you may have to move it.
Okay.
Like connectivity wise. But so okay, so what made you come to the United States? You decided, hey, you know what, I want a different opportunity. What kind of drove you to move to the United
It was
States?
basically education. I had the opportunity to apply for a scholarship to the States. I came just basically to finish my undergrad here in the States.
And then when did you? So when you first came here, you said you came here at age 21.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
And then what did you do when you first came here? You went to school, and what else did you do? When did you start getting into fitness? I guess that's a good. I guess that's a good way to
Okay,
get to that.
so basically, it was just pretty soon after I came to the States because I was going back and forth back to Guatemala, and I would like have some vacation period and I would fly back. And then my mom realized that I kind of started to gain weight as I was here for a few months. And then she said, "You know what? I think that you're gaining weight, a little bit of weight, and too fast for the time that you've been there." So it's pretty common because obviously portion size here and all the stuff that it's added to our food, unfortunately, like it impacted my weight. So I started gaining weight, not like obese or like big weight, but it was different too. So I started noticing too that my clothes wouldn't fit anymore. So that's when I started to get into the gym and not really knowing what I was doing, because I always play. I was an athlete before, but I was playing soccer, I was playing basketball, I was playing volleyball, not such like bodybuilding, let's say. So I didn't really know what I was doing at the gym. But I started like that, just running in the treadmill and doing my thing, just trying to lose that weight that I was gaining.
So, what is the difference between like American food in Guatemala and American food? Is it fresher food in Guatemala than the States? They just have more preservatives and additives.
Yes, I would say the second thing. Also, yeah, more fresh stuff. But I would say that the fact that here in America it's like marketed as organic and it's not fully organic, and the preservatives, all the things that are used to just to preserve the food, um, the sugar, the portion sizes also make a big, because over there, like like we have a decent meal, and it's not as heavy as it's here. Like here the portions are way bigger.
So, what's your typical like? Can you give me a and we're going to go into this a little bit about you have a business that kind of a that you prepare healthy meals.
Correct.
What's a typical like breakfast, lunch, dinner for you?
Right here on a normal day,
Hmm.
my breakfast would be some egg whites and perhaps sometimes when I'm not prepping for any bodybuilding competition, I add bacon, eggs, and a toast, maybe avocado. Then lunch it would be chicken, rice, veggies, and meals like that throughout the day consistently,
And then,
depending on my intake. But yeah, basically it's all the same: protein, veggies, and carbs.
so how do you plan out like do you cut sugar out? Do you cut sugar totally out?
Um, yeah, during prep season, yes. There's some space where we do we do like sugar free stuff. Although it's not as healthy either, but it's an option to just do the 0 calorie. That's something that it doesn't impact as much your prep.
So can you give me like so you're a like I said you're a very um you're very accomplished in the bodybuilding world. And so the question I have for you is what is a typical workout for you like throughout the day? So I know when bodybuilding you're going to split your workouts typically. So how do you do that? How do you arrange that? And I guess that's part one of the question and I'll go into part two later.
Okay, so well, for it depends what division you are in. So let's say for my division that it's the wellness division. It's lower body more developed than the rest of the body, right? So it's bigger legs, bigger glutes, and that's what you're showcasing. And mostly, I mean, that doesn't mean that you're like you have to work out your entire body, but mainly the focus here is to outgrow your lower body. Okay, so let's say for my division it would require me to do more leg workouts throughout the week than as opposed as the shoulders and back, it would be like 2 days, and then the rest of the days would be like split in between legs. So right now, for example, I have 2 days of glutes, 2 days of full legs, and then I have 2 days of upper body, which is not as heavy, but I also do upper body.
So how many hours per day are you working out per day? Now we're not talking about, because I know that you also teach, which you work out too, which
Right.
so
Yeah,
do you count that? I assume you don't.
I don't. Because that is mainly the classes that I teach are mostly cycling. So those don't really count as workouts because I'm not using any weights, right? Um, but it does count as
And then so how many hours per day are you spending working out? And then like do you start early in the morning? Like how do you split the day?
if I'm in prep season, I'm working out about 3 hours a day, 3.5 hours a day. It depends because honestly, sometimes it's about 4 hours. So it's a lot of time that it's spent during prep. But if I'm like off season, I'm not during that time where I'm prepping for a show. Then it's a more relaxed kind of thing because then I can work out, let's say an hour and a half, and then I can do sometimes 20 minutes of cardio. So it would be like if I'm off season, let's say 2 hours and a half, 2 hours.
So what would you recommend somebody that they wanted to get in shape, not necessarily a bodybuilder, but they want to get into shape? What would you recommend somebody, hey, you know what? I just want to start building muscle and I don't want to get too big. And I
Yeah.
know I think I addressed this at another podcast. I think some women feel like if they start lifting weights that they're going to get big, like not feminine. You're very feminine. You're a beautiful woman. But I think that some people think that if you exercise or lift weights a little bit, you're going to get like huge. I don't think they understand that it takes 3 or 4 hours a day and your diet and everything else. So, what would you recommend somebody if they wanted to get into shape and start lifting weights and slowly? What would you recommend them doing?
So let me tell you this first. I hear that a lot too. I hear from women say, "Oh my God, you know what? Oh my God, you look amazing," and the nice compliment, right? And I wish, like, I look like that, and but I just don't want to get too bulky, or I don't want to get too big. You know what? It is extremely hard. I cannot emphasize this big enough. It's super hard to gain muscle. It's super hard to maintain it. It's super hard to just build just build muscle in general. It's really hard. So by you going to the gym and just lifting like 5 pounds dumbbells, you're not gonna get big. You start getting big when you start lifting like extremely heavy, and you're not gonna get super big either. If you see those women that are in the physique world, like they're a little bit bigger. I mean, there's a whole different world that you have to get into hormones to grow to that level. I mean, you're not gonna get like that naturally. It's impossible. So, unless you're doing hormones or something else, I mean, you're not going to get that big. So, don't, my advice to all the women, start to lift weights because in the long run, it's very good. We start losing muscle and bone mass as we age. So, we need to start getting into, a better conditioning and lift weights because it's really good for the health.
So, what do you recommend? Like, I don't know where to start. I don't know how much weight to lift. I mean, how much do I do and how much do I do? I mean, I don't how much weight I should lift and
Hmm.
I don't know how much I should do. What would you
Well,
recommend?
I would always suggest, for the people that I usually train, I always start with them with very lightweight, 10 pounders, 5 pounders. It really depends on how you feel because everybody's different. So I can handle fives, but maybe other person cannot handle fives and be the same way, right? There's a lot of factors that really interfere in this aspect of lifting weights. But what I would do is, test yourself and see what are you able to do. And if you're comfortable with fives, okay, well, why don't you make it a challenge and go like 7.5? And if that is comfortable, well, just go for the tens. And some go to the point that it becomes a little bit of a challenge, because that's when you start to see changes in your body.
Now, do you recommend like sets of 2 or 3? How do you what do you is set wise? Like some people, does that mean, okay, I'm gonna go get the weights and just do one set of 5 reps with 5 pounds?
Right.
How do you determine how many sets and so
So
forth?
for you to see changes in your body, I don't have a specific number to say, oh, you know what, in the bodybuilding world, we're doing like 7 sets of 20, 7 sets, 40 reps and things like that, like bigger sets. But for just normal people that want to start in the fitness journey, that have, want to accomplish something with their bodies and change their bodies and things like that, I'll say, go to like from a safe number from 3 to 4 rounds of 12 to 15 reps, 12 to in between 12 and 20 reps. That's a good number.
How do you stay motivated? You're in really great shape. How do you stay so motivated and focused? Are there days where you just go, man, I don't know if I can do this today, or
Of course, yes.
so
Yeah.
how do you stay motivated?
It's not always about motivation. It is, I don't always feel motivated. I don't always want to go to the gym. Sometimes, my moods gain my over. And I think that us as women, we go through a lot of ups and downs with our hormones and stuff like that. So I'm not always motivated, but I always find the time to go and work out. For me, honestly, the gym is more like therapy, like a mental escape that I can go and, like, don't touch my 2 hours of gym. It's like I have to go because it's to feel good in my head.
So let me ask you this. It's going to be interesting because there's a lot of moms out there, and you're a mom, and I'm sure that you're in such great shape. And when did you, I guess, when do you explain to your son, hey, mom's a bodybuilder? This is why I'm so big. This is why I mean, do you explain to your son, hey, this is what I do? And I know that for he probably sees other moms that are not in your shape, or and how do you explain it to him? And how did you get into bodybuilding?
So in the first place, um, I don't think he sees me as, oh, my mom is different. Everywhere we go, well, mostly all the places that we go and that he's with me and everybody. Sometimes people say, "Oh my God, you're in a meet. You're in a. Your body looks really good." Or I get compliments from people, and so he hears it. And so sometimes he's like, "Mom, you know what? Oh my God, when I have my kids, I'm gonna tell." I'm gonna tell them that you're a legend. And so it's pretty cute. I don't really have to explain him much because he's been to some of my shows. So I explain him, how important health is. But he doesn't see me any different. He sees me like, oh, like a role model. Oh, like, hey, your mom looks good, and he tells me that. And oh, is that your sister? So it's a good thing, and he sees it and he knows the impact of health and how good it is to exercise and live a healthy lifestyle.
So what made you want to go into bodybuilding? I assume you started out just by working out because like you said, you just wanted to stay in shape. What kind of like turned the corner for you where you said, "Hey, I would like to do bodybuilding competitively?"
So um, I think that I got to a point where I said, okay, I'm satisfied with my body and I want to take it to another level. Um, it was just the fact that I was seeing a lot of people. I used to train at the Mecca at Gold's Gym. I didn't decide it back then that I wanted to be a bodybuilder, but I would see a lot of people and their discipline. And then after being around bodybuilders and seeing having friends bodybuilders, I was like, huh, I wonder, what would it be if I take that step into just going to a first show? And I did. It was I think I work very good under pressure. So taking that decision really pushed me to do a harder work.
So let me ask you this. I know that you probably have you ever had anybody that critiqued you, whether it's on Facebook or Facebook or Instagram or any TikTok or just how about in your own community or friends and say, hey, you're getting too big, or why do you want to do this? And what kind of stuff did they say? And then how did you overcome that?
um they've said mean things. They've said yes, that I'm too big, that I look manly, that I look. I don't pay attention to that because it's my body at the end of the day. Um, it's how I like to look at myself in the mirror and see myself um, as a happy person and what I'm satisfied with. Um, Sometimes it gets to your feelings, but I have very thick skin. And so I think that none of that has ever bothered me in any way. If it's something that comes from love is telling you, which has happened to me too. I had a boyfriend that would say like, oh, you know what, you're getting too big and I don't like you being too big. Well, this is what I do. I'm sorry. you know
Yeah, yeah, no. And let me ask you this: what kind of things, in terms of like when you talk to other people and you're training people, because you overcame those kind of barriers yourself, what are some of the big barriers that some of the people that you train have, like some of the women and the men that you train? What are some of the most common things that you hear, like why they can't work out or stay in shape? What are some of those common things that you hear, and then how do you push them through that?
um Mainly I would say that it's time. Oh, I don't have time to work out. Or yeah, I would say that's the number one reason why everybody doesn't work out. Oh, like I do this, I do that, and I don't have the time to work out. Some people just don't want to do it. I mean, we all have 24 hours, and there's people working out 5 in the morning, 3 in the morning. I see people train like I had like cyclist friends that are training 3 in the morning, 3 to 5 in the morning, and then they just go to work. So it's basically really no excuse for it. You don't need to be at the gym like everybody else, like 2 hours. You need to be at the gym 30 minutes, 45 minutes. You don't even need to go to the gym. Let's make it simple like that. You can, sometimes it's harder to do it you're on your own and do it in your house, but honestly there's no really excuse. Go for a run.
And go, or like you said, even go for a walk. I mean, I don't think people understand that, like in terms of a non-impact, or swim, because I know you like to swim. So I mean, there's a million different ways to do exercise, even if you don't have the money to go to the gym.
Correct.
You can start something. So I want to ask you, how do you balance um, being a mom, and your career? Is it been difficult because you have the bodybuilding career is very, very time consuming, and then also you have an own business, and then you're a trainer too. How do you balance all these things and prioritize things?
So the reason why I just don't work a 9 to 5 job is because I wanted to dedicate my time to my son. I wanted to be close to him, and just I wanted to be able to go drop him off at school, pick him up from school, do homework with him, and be attentive with him, and just have a meal together. I wanted to be able to do all that. So that's the reason why I'm not in a 9 to 5 job. And I never liked it anyways. Like, I've always liked to be independent and do my own thing. And it's not easy, but I find my time around, and I always schedule everything around around his school, and making sure that he's being prioritized. And sometimes, I always have to carry him with me everywhere I go. And but it's also part of his process that he needs to learn that we need to sacrifice sometimes, to get other things in return. So he has to go with me. I say, you know what, baby, we're gonna go to work because I have this client, and then maybe we can go for an ice cream after, and kind of balance it that way.
And how many shows do you do per year?
Right now I've been doing one a year, um, because of the same reason. It's really hard to grow. So I train almost every day. The day that I'm not lifting weights, I'm doing some high interval training, or I'm doing other stuff, cycling, or I'm doing other stuff. I sometimes get to sub for bodyworks class with little weights, in a group environment. And but other than that, I've been trying. I was trying to compete twice this year, and I'll see. I'm not really sure about it. I think there's a show in November that I wanted to do, so that is still tentative. If that's the case, I'll be doing 2 shows this year.
B,
But
let me ask you this, B. I know the bodybuilding world is super competitive, and I know it's extremely stressful. Um, what is it like in the bodybuilding community? Are people friends with one another, or is it kind of a weird adversarial relationship, or are the women supportive of each other in your bodybuilding community?
it is. I really think it depends on the person. I mean, it could be either competitive, or it can be like really friendly. In my perspective, I've always had and ended up with a tons of friends out of a show. I and another thing is that this is very important to mention. When I work out, I'm always working out with the mentality, what, there's somebody out there working out harder than me. So I always try to push hard, right? But I don't ever compare myself to anybody else going into the same show, because we are all different. We develop different. You cannot compare to anybody else. Of course, when you are on stage, you get to see and then admire. Like, for me, it is very inspiring to see other women with the same passion and love for the sport. The fact that we all have the strength, because it is very stressful sometimes. It can get very um it is a very demanding sport, where you have to sometimes be doing cardio, like fasted cardio, with nothing in your system, and you're really tired sometimes. It becomes really stressful at some point, and then you're very restricted on the diet. So that becomes really, really negative, because you have all these mood swings going on. You're sometimes in a really bad attitude. And so, but when you see it from the point of view that, oh my God, like, all these people are doing the same thing, and they have the same passion and the same drive, and then you see them in the stage, it is just so inspiring to see their bodies, their physiques, and how they've developed. For example, this last show that I went, I placed third place. And I was just looking at the other girls and I was like, oh my God, look at those legs. I want legs like that, and they had massive legs. And I was like, and in other people's eyes, my legs are already big, and I was just thinking, oh my God, I want legs like that.
Yeah, I think that goes back to be what you were saying is I think that people have to understand there's a that bodybuilding um that you can be healthy, and I think you live a very healthy lifestyle, but I don't think they understand in order to get that, like, for competition ready, there's kind of a downside physically to it too.
Yes, of
Like,
course.
I don't think people understand that like you have to dry out. You have to I don't think they understand that before a competition, you're not drinking a lot of fluids. You're doing it. So I think when people see those bodybuilders, they go, "Oh my God, they're just so ripped," but they don't understand there was a lot of sacrifices that you made like 24 hours before you hit that stage that probably aren't the most healthy decisions in the world for sure because you're not drinking. There's a lot of things you're not doing in order to for people to have that maximum look of your muscles. So I think a lot of people don't understand the sacrifices that
Uh,
people make
yeah.
when you're doing bodybuilding.
Yes, there's a lot of stuff that go into that last week of going on stage. Like your carbs just deplete, your water depletes, everything just goes like really, and you're just like kind of surviving, and that you cutting all that sometimes doesn't allow you to sleep. Then you're going to the bathroom like 30 times at night because you're just draining all that water that you have in your system just to dry out as much as you can. You have to go in long sessions to the sauna for 40 minutes to get all that water out of your system, those veins popping. And sometimes people see and say, oh my God, that's disgusting, and oh my God, but that is just for the show. You won't stay like that. You get like super skinny on your face and dry, and you look like a skeleton, and people are like, are you sick? No, I'm not sick, I have a show coming up, you know so
Yeah, and like you said, it passes. Like once you're, and I think most of the people, unless you want to do bodybuilding, and that's why it's important when I have these kind of podcasts. Is it's you're focusing on the healthy side, and then those people that want to do bodybuilding have to understand that there's other sacrifices to it that you're going to have to make before a show. So there's like a balance to everything. Um, I'm going to ask you this question, and then I'm going to go into your business because besides your fitness business, I want to talk about a little bit about your meal prep business because that's a really important thing, and I think a lot of people now are moving toward that so that they can eat a healthy, balanced meal, especially since I think it blew up since COVID. But
Mhm.
okay, here we go. You ready? Here's a
Yeah.
challenge questions for you, V. Best way to build shoulders. Best exercise to build shoulders.
I have so many, but I would
Give me
say
one. Give me one.
Arnold press.
Okay, so Arnold press, and they can look it up. Okay, there you go. Okay, you can even show it. Okay, Arnold press. That's for best for shoulder. Okay, best for arms.
Bicep curls.
Just your base up. For your back, lats,
Lat pull downs.
that pull downs. Okay. Oh, look at you, go girl. And then stomach.
Abs. Diet, diet, diet.
So what kind of exercises besides? I know it has to be diet, and then everybody always says, "Oh, I can't get rid of that fat around my waist." So it's going to be, and I always tell it's diet in combination with exercise. So diet's going to be number one, right? Obviously for that, but what kind of stomach exercise do you recommend people do?
You know what? It's funny because um although in when we're show ready, uh I don't do as many ab workouts at all. Not as many. It just comes out with the diet, honestly, because we all have the abs. But if you really want to do and bring them a little bit bigger and showing like showing a little bit more, there's ton of ab work that you can do. Russian twists, just regular sit ups, planks. Planks are really good to build, longer. periods of times for planks.
Yeah, I think sometimes the people challenges that, hey, you know what, I want to get rid of it's diet, and obviously got to do cardio,
Right.
and you know, and it's a, and I think a lot of people don't understand that sometimes it's difficult to have, and this is why I admire a lot of triathletes because they have the cardio side and they have the strength side. But the thing is, it's hard to have both, and I think people don't understand that there's a give and take to all this.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because when you run, you lose muscle mass.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the same time, you're trying to exercise and lift weights. And so I know some people that get frustrated. They go, "Hey, Fig, I run a lot. I can't put on the muscle." I say, "Well, you're going to have to reduce your running
Right. Right.
and
Right.
increase the weightlifting. You can't have both." And or I say you can have both, but understand you're not going to ever get as big as a bodybuilder.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like you have to pick your poison.
And another,
Um,
let me just make a parenthesis there. A lot of people just starve themselves because they think, oh, by not eating, I'm gonna get skinny, and that's not how it works. In order for a person to really hit that body fat, they need to be intaking the right amounts of macros for their specific goal. So let's say if I wanna uh, hit my body fat, right? I'm going to be eating accordingly. Or if I want to gain muscle mass, okay, I'm going to be eating according that goal. So it really depends. Like, I don't understand why people are like just like cutting a lot. Obviously, to lose fat, you have to be in a caloric deficit. That's for sure and for granted. Like there's no other way to go around it. But when I hear people, oh, I'm not eating, or I'm just eating a salad or this or that, and not eating enough protein, I mean, then it's when all gets messed up because then whenever you're not eating enough, then you're gonna gain it back soon, you
and
know?
yeah, yes, and I have friends that have done fasting, and I'm like, and let all my friends that have fasted, you know what happened? They lost the weight, but
Hmm.
guess what? They gained it back 3 months later.
Yeah.
So it's like I tell them, you know what? You're losing muscle. There's a lot of stuff that you're giving up for that. I'm not saying that the intermediate fasting doesn't work for somebody,
Uh
but
huh.
I know some people that they'll fast for long periods of time.
Hmm.
So, okay, here we go. Legs. How about thighs? Thighs.
The abductors,
Oh, okay. Oh, that's great. And then what about glutes?
hip thrusts, heavy
Oh,
hip thrusts.
oh, really? Are those the best?
Yeah, that's my favorite exercise.
Um, and what about deadlifts?
They are also very good. For hamstrings, glutes, very good.
Okay, calves. See, I'm doing everything. I'm getting you on it. I'm getting all the good advice from here from you, B.
The calves, well, just the calf machine, they're that up and down. Or so you don't have to be on the machine either. You can just get on one little step and be doing like bringing your toes up and down.
I probably know the answer to this already, but cardio, and I know you're gonna say cycling, so we'll say so. Okay, so
No,
besides
actually,
cycling,
what I love, and I when I tell people to do something because they want to get in better shape, I always tell them, you know what, circuit training. I love circuit training because it gets you going. Exercise after exercise, little periods of rest, and then go back at it again. And so that keeps your heart rate going and brings it up and down, where as to where you're like losing fat.
yeah, I told some friends about that as well. You just take shorter breaks between your lifts, and then you can make, and you can do your cardio as well as your.
Yeah, so yeah, you're working both with your own. You could be with your own body weight, or you can just get like some weights.
Um. Okay, so I wanted to ask you this, and then I'll ask you some fun questions. So I'm not going to torture you anymore today, V. I really appreciate it because I know, like you, and I didn't even mention this. You do modeling as well, um, okay, so you have a meal prep business,
Correct.
and how difficult is it for you to have that kind of business, and how do you decide on the macros, and how do you decide on how to design it?
First, I get to have a consultation with whoever wants to go into meal prepping, and I ask them all these questions about their goals and what are they trying to get into meal prepping, and what are they trying to do with it, and why are they trying to do it. Because for some people it's like, oh, you know what, I don't know what portions should I be eating. Or other people would say, oh, you know what, I just don't have the time to cook at all. Or other people would be like, oh, you know what, it's just that I don't know what I should be eating, you know. So I always get a consultation with them before even starting their meal plan. And then according to their goals, I put them in a meal plan, and whatever it's amount of meals it's good for them, I divide that throughout the day, and that's how it works.
Okay, so now I get to ask you these fun questions here. Okay, so
Right.
here we go. What is your guilty pleasure food wise? Because I know you eat healthy. Eat healthy. What is your cheat food?
I love chocolate. So anything chocolate, I'm on it.
Your favorite kind of music, and I know you all like all kind of music. So what is your top music
Oh,
work your
yeah,
top
that's
music?
very hard because I do play all kinds of music, and more so because my cycling classes are very varied. But I like Spanish rock. I like Spanish pop.
And then okay, so if you could meet one person in the world, it doesn't matter in any time period, who would it be and what would you say to them?
For what?
It can be for anything. B. This is like for anything.
If
If
I can
there's
the
there's
person for
there's one person in the world that you would love to meet. It doesn't matter what the interest is. It could be politics or music or whatever. Just one person in the world that you'd love to meet. They say, B, you know what? You got one person to choose. Who would it be and who would you say?
David Goggins.
Oh, okay, because he's so. And what would you say?
You know what? I've been listening to most of his motivational. I also read his book, one of his books.
Yes, yes. I read his book as well.
Yes, so it is very he has like that push mentality. And sometimes you see other people trying to quit, or sometimes myself, like I feel like, oh, so down or whatever.
Sorry, there's a little bit of a delay on the internet, so we might have lost her here. So, David Goggins' book is Can't Hurt Me. It's one of the most, it's a great motivational book, and that's a good example of somebody that kind of balances the aerobic side conditioning with the um, weightlifting side. But I think we lost V. So, thank you so much for being here today. And till next time, and thank you so much. And we're going to continue finding amazing guests for everybody. Thank you so much for your time and take care, everybody. Till next time.